because it's the People's Channel and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
Is the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
He's the king of breakfast TV, and he's back.
Eamon Holmes, back on the TV with me this morning.
Even remember my name.
I know, it's been 4 months. You have holy water by your bed?
Oh, yes. Already to bless.
Yeah. Oh, Eamon. Oh.
Why do you not believe anything I say?
Eamon Holmes back on GB News Breakfast at 6 a.m.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel. I am not Laurence Fox. This is Bev Turner. I'm on 8 o'clock all week. And we've got one hell of an eclectic mix of stories for you tonight. Trust me, you do not want to miss it. As residents take to the streets in Oxford to protest against the unrelenting war on motorists, I'll be wondering about the motives of those with car-free roads in their sights and asking who benefits exactly. And the tragedy of Nicola Bulley rolls to a tragic conclusion as the body found in the river was confirmed to be hers just a couple of hours ago. This was the very first high-profile police inquiry which attracted swathes of TikTok detectives. One of the psychics drawn to the case actually found her body in the river. So should we get used to social media sleuths working with rather than against the police? And Roald Dahl, a genius character creator and observer of human behaviour, or an outdated, non-PC writer whose books now require sensitivity readers to rewrite the classic fiction for a more inclusive read. Get ready for that one. Plus, did you study Latin in school? Well, something has been uncovered by Hadrian's Wall. It's been recatalogued after archaeologists looked at it for a long time, scratching their chins and wondered what it might be. It's long, hard, wooden, and it will have anybody that sees it blushing. You're going to have to wait until the end of the show to find out what it is. But don't forget, more importantly, I want to hear from you. My panel will be here in just a moment. I'll be putting your questions to them. gbviews at gbnews.uk. Send them my way. That's all coming up after the latest headlines with Polly Middlehurst.
Bev, thank you and good evening to you. Well, our top story on GB News tonight, Lancashire Police this afternoon confirmed the body discovered in the River Wye yesterday has been identified as missing mother of two Nicola Bulley. The body was found a mile away from where Nicola first disappeared 3 weeks ago during a morning dog walk. She was found by members of the public and the cause of death hasn't been revealed. A police liaison officer read out a statement on behalf of Nicola's family earlier on.
Finally, Nikki, you are no longer a missing person. You have been found. We can let you rest now. We love you, always have and always will. We will take it from here.
Well, in other news today, the Chief Constable of Devon and Cornwall Police has called for firearms law to be reformed after an inquest jury found people were unlawfully killed in a shooting spree near Plymouth in 2021. 5 people died, including a 3-year-old girl, in a shooting carried out by Jake Davison. The inquest heard how the 22-year-old legally held a shotgun certificate but was obsessed with firearms. A lawyer for 4 of the victims' families says there's been a catastrophic failure at Devon and Cornwall Police.
The system has hopelessly failed us. In particular, the Devon and Cornwall Police Force has failed us. The evidence we have heard during this inquest over the past 5 weeks is a consistent story of individual failures, breathtaking incompetence and systemic failings within every level of the firearms licensing unit of the Devon and Cornwall Police.
Well, in news away from home today, President Biden promised more than $500 million worth of aid to Ukraine after making a surprise trip to its capital. It comes just days before the first anniversary of Russia's invasion on the 24th of February last year. Mr. Zelensky said the visit was an extremely important sign of support for all Ukrainians. The US president said his country would stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes.
Putin thought Ukraine was weak and the West was divided. As you know, Mr. President, I said to you in the beginning, he's counting on us not sticking together. He was counting on the inability to keep NATO united. He was counting on us not to be able to bring in others on the side of Ukraine. He thought he could outlast us. I don't think he's thinking that right now.
Junior doctors in England have voted overwhelmingly to strike for 72 hours next month over pay. The Health Secretary, Steve Barclay, says he's deeply disappointed by their decision. The news comes as more than 11,000 healthcare workers from the GMB and Unite unions in England and Wales went on strike today in their continuing dispute over pay and staffing levels. You're up to date on TV, online and DAB Plus radio. This is GB News. And in the seat for Laurence Fox tonight, it's Bev Turner.
So it might be the 4th Industrial Revolution, the Great Reset, etc., etc. But ladies and gentlemen, take your eyes off Klaus Schwab for a moment and look a little closer to home, because I've worked out the driving force behind the war on motorists. It's the Lycra lot, the Jeremy Vines, the sexually frustrated middle-aged men in Lycra, the almost retired local councillors on their £5,000 carbon fibre virility compensators. There were mass protests over the weekend against 15-minute cities, the ULEZ expansion into Greater London and the anti-car movement, which is all a load of bollards. The Car Free Cities campaign is encouraging people to leave the car behind and help make cities cleaner, greener, safer and more accessible for all. More accessible for all. Who exactly? Who benefits? It's not women, it's not parents, it's not the elderly or the disabled. It's certainly not young families. And safer? By whose definition? Violent crime is at unprecedented levels. And the London Underground, the one that we are meant to use instead of our cars, is packed with warnings and advice on what to do when someone sticks their hand up your skirt on their commute. Maybe Sadiq Khan's daughters will always be chauffeured around in Range Rovers with blacked-out windows. But I like the locks on my car doors. I like the fact that my daughters don't always have to wait at a bus stop if they're leaving a friend's house after dark. Cleaner and greener? Well, any of us who live near the ludicrous road closures which force cars to creep along a few main roads know that is nonsense. You don't need to read the 2021 Imperial College study into ULEZ expansion to know that pollution is actually worsened in some areas. And accessible for all? Who? This could only have been dreamed up by someone squeezing himself into tight shorts in the morning. Have any of these people ever tried doing the school run by the supermarket whilst collecting the dry cleaning or dropping off food at an elderly relative's? Try doing that in the rain on a stupid bicycle with 3 kids in tow. We might have come a long way, but it's still mainly women quite literally carrying this extra burden. And we can't fit all this in some Ponzi panniers. Those Peak District car-free trial weekends will thrill the blokes who love the feel of a carbon fibre saddle in the morning. They will swoosh along the tarmac, imagining that they're 25 again, waving goodbye to the mums and kids who need nappies, raincoats, wellies, picnic blankets and other paraphernalia for a day out. So it's fair to say that although I too want clean air and waterways, right now the war on the motorist feels rather a lot like a war on women and children. Do you agree? Let me know. One man who might tell me I'm wrong is Julian Bell, former Labour leader of Ealing Council. Good evening, Julian. Thank you very much for joining me. You're very brave for coming on this show. You are the man who put up lots of wooden roadblocks. Let me guess, you're a cyclist.
So I do cycle, this is true.
There you go.
But I also drive a car when I need to. And I also believe in public transport as well. I use the tube, I use the Elizabeth line, and I try to walk as well. So I think if I can be so bold as to say that was a slightly hysterical reaction to low traffic neighbourhoods that you've given.
Let me tell you why I am hysterical about this. And Julian, as I say, this is falling on predominantly women, young families, teenagers, kids. The only people who feel safe cycling more often than getting in a car are generally blokes. Older blokes who like to cycle, who don't have the responsibility and the paraphernalia of real life. Surely you understand why so many people like me are exasperated.
So I've got grandchildren, I've got daughters with children, and so I do understand those challenges that young families have in getting their children to school in the morning and doing all those things that they have to do, taking them to their ballet classes or whatever it may be. But there are ways of doing that in a sustainable way, and we do have to look at and reassess our relationship with the car. And I don't think...
I know, but what you're making us do is reassess the relationship that our children have with freedom. It's no exaggeration to say it's about the freedom, to get them off their screens, get them out to their activities. It's hard enough. I live in West London. In fact, my brother lives in the area where you were putting wooden flower boxes at the end of roads. Exactly. So I know exactly what that area is like in West London. It's a nightmare. Why, when you say we have solutions, what does that look like at 7 o'clock trying to get down the A4 to Brentford Leisure Centre? How do I do that?
So, you know, there are 30% of our journeys are short journeys that could actually be done either walking or cycling, and that you don't always have to get into the car, frankly. And that's what this is primarily about. It's about trying to get people to move to more sustainable and healthy ways of travel when they don't need to. And oftentimes, small journeys to the local shop around the corner or to the school just down the road, they don't have to be made in a car. You can walk.
I know they don't have to be, but I want to. I know they don't have to be, but I want to do it in my car, and that's all right. The car is a radical symbol of individuality and freedom. And it is disgusting that people like me that just want to take our families to activities are being told to walk at 6 o'clock on a rainy, pitch-black Wednesday night when it's hard enough to get the kids to go to swimming club anyway. How are we meant to do it? A bus, walking, it's just not feasible. You're going to mean everyone's going to be sat at home.
Well, again, I think you're overreacting, to put it mildly.
I'm not.
Essentially,
I'm so sorry. I'm not overreacting. I don't know the last time you tried to do the things that mums have to do in the evening. I guess you have never had to do that.
Low traffic. I've done lots of school runs. I've done lots of ballet runs, and I understand.
In a car, presumably. You didn't stick them on the back of your bike in a tutu.
I've done lots of walking as well as in a car. But let's get this out of the way now. Low traffic neighbourhoods do not stop anybody from going where they want to go. You can get to where you want to go. You may have to do a longer journey
Exactly.
sometime.
And when you live in London, you don't have time. It already takes me half an hour from Chiswick to get to Hammersmith. I can't, it doesn't work, and you can't do that. And parents are exhausted, and grandparents who are often doing this, helping out with childcare. It's totally unrealistic to say, just walk. It's unrealistic. It's not rooted in reality, Julian, at all.
Well, you're painting this with one brush and saying that all journeys are of such a length and such a nature that you can only make them by car. I don't accept that. There are lots and lots of journeys. 30% of journeys are very, very short journeys, which could happily be done and easily be done by either walking or cycling or scooting. Children love to scoot. And essentially, what you're doing is saying, well, I don't care about any of the wider issues that low traffic neighbourhoods address. They address the climate crisis. They address the obesity crisis. The NHS is spending billions on fighting obesity.
You know what addresses the obesity crisis? Being able to take our children to activities after school. And you cannot. In London, it is just completely ridiculous. And other big cities, it's not realistic to come home from school at 5 o'clock on the bus to then say, right, kids, get your coat on. I know it's snowing. It doesn't matter. We've got to scoot to netball, which is all the way up the A4 in Osterley. I can't do that. And the problem is the LTNs in my area have actually made the journeys longer. There's more pollution. I'm spending more time in my car. The woman who runs the netball team that my girls do at the moment, she's almost had to give up because all of those families from Ealing, from Acton, from Chiswick, from West London, and I know this is repeated in cities across the country, we can't get there because the traffic is so bad, because everyone's been forced onto these main arterial roads. And I can't help but thinking it's blokes who don't know what we're dealing with that have made these decisions.
Well, again, the evidence doesn't prove that. Certainly within LTNs, the amount of traffic is significantly reduced. The number of accidents in low traffic neighbourhoods is significantly reduced. In London, it was shown to be up to 50% reductions in accidents with LTNs. They also enable more people to cycle and walk. And frankly, if there is an increase in traffic on boundary roads, it's not very significant. And in some instances, it isn't there at all. So you have to let these things settle down, and you have to allow people to change their travel behaviours. And they will
while
do.
We're settling down, change their travel behaviours. It's this language that is what makes people so upset, Julian. It's alienating. There is no doubt that we have to do things to have cleaner air, cleaner water. We all share that. But the speed and the determination with which these low traffic neighbourhoods are being pushed through is meaning that a lot of people are very much now pushing against any sort of ecological ambition. And it's just backfiring. It's backfiring in so many ways. But listen, you're a brave man. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the debate. I might come and have a coffee with you in Ealing, and I can do this face-to-face and really be hysterical. I appreciate you joining us this evening, Julian Bell. This morning, you see why I said that? I'm normally on at 10 o'clock in the morning, of course, here on GB News. It is the evening. Right. Coming up, we heard some tragic news, of course, this evening about the Nicola Bulley case. We're going to be looking into the unusual circumstances of the situation with my panel, who are going to be here with me in the studio. Don't go anywhere.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, "Nah, stop arguing." I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
Is the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison? I don't believe in prison. I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel. Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
You're an inspiration to us all.
Clip that bit up.
Well, you are.
That's my ringtone. My political ambitions those days are gone, I can tell you.
She's only teasing. Go on. He's probably going to want to lay down now. I'll give him 2 minutes to have one.
Let's respectfully disagree. That's what we like
Absolutely.
on Jubes and Kerr. Come and join us. GB News, the People's Channel.
Michelle Dewberry, weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank. My father didn't love me. So anyway.
Headliners every night from 11 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView, Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. This is Bev Turner sitting in for Laurence Fox this week, all week at 8 o'clock. You've been getting in touch with your views about that interview I just did with the poor guy from Ealing Council. He used to be Ealing Council. I bet he wishes he wasn't after that. Karen has said, I wholeheartedly agree that the rules for cycling are based on men's decisions relating to what would work for them. I dropped off 4 kids to school this morning. I did home visits as part of my jobs. How could I have done home visits carrying all my equipment on a bike in the rain, up and down the hills? And Deborah says, what about the disabled? Do they have to stay housebound? Absolutely. It's a conversation that I think we're going to continue to have on and on. Right, last Wednesday, Lancashire Police warned the public to stop playing detective after police claimed that the social media sleuths have significantly distracted the investigation of the late Nicola Bulley. Over the last few weeks, police stated that an influx of speculatory reports and members of public conducting investigations had diverted the attention of the police, potentially wasting time and resources. Armchair detectives took it to the next level with this situation, from researching online to actually physically retracing footsteps. And this evening, it was revealed that a psychic is claiming to have found the now identified body of Nicola Bulley in the River Wyre. So can self-sleuthing really be justified in cases such as these? Well, here to discuss this with me is former Deputy Head to the Met Commissioner, Stephen Roberts. Good evening, Stephen. It's a difficult one, this, isn't it? Because the reason I wanted to discuss this tonight is because it genuinely feels like the first time we have seen, and the first of anything I think is always worthy of debate, it is the first time we've seen a high-profile case, a police investigation, that was completely infiltrated and swamped by social media detectives. How significant do you think this will be going forward? Do we literally have to change the law around this now?
I'm not at all sure we need to change the law, but I think you're quite right. This is a significant change signalled by this case. I think it's all but certain that the training for future senior investigating officers will include far more about media management. And in particular, and the new aspect of this is managing what we might call the official media, TV, radio, the printed media, but also managing social media. This is the first time where that has been a really significant distraction, and there will be lessons to be learned about how that can happen. We can start to think about what some of those lessons might be now, but it needs a thorough review of what actually happened and the decisions that were made and the reasons why decisions were made in the investigation in response to social media.
But Stephen, do you think it was a distraction, or did it in any way help the police? I mean, it's been reported that the couple who found the body, tragically, of Nicola Bulley in the river, he was one of the psychics. Now, I'm not sure we can bestow his find to that particular talent. But, of course, that person happened to be there at the time, walking along the river, because they were attracted to this. Do you foresee a time when maybe the police have to work with these sorts of people in some sort of official capacity?
The police will always have to and want to work with members of the public. Part of the media strategy for any major investigation like this is how do we get useful messages out to the public to try and reach out to that one person, perhaps, who has just that little bit of information, that little bit of evidence. They may not even know that they have it. And all the work that went on around looking for dash cam footage is a good example of that. But there's a balance to be struck between using the media to get that message out and to seek additional evidence, and the media working only to its own priorities that then distract the investigation.
Well,
they are a genuine distraction in some cases.
In Nicola Bulley's family statement, they actually said, we tried to take in what we had been told, this is last night, only to have Sky News and ITV making contact with us directly when we expressly asked for privacy. The family, interestingly, are criticising the establishment media as opposed to the social media sleuths. That's unusual.
Oh, the established media has not been blameless in all of this. I mean, we saw the, well, frankly, disgusting article in one newspaper, of all things, criticising the hair and the dress of the senior investigating officer. Now, that is irresponsible and offensive, frankly, and again, a distraction.
Yeah,
I'm sure the lady in question is far too robust to take too much notice of it. But it simply doesn't help when somebody's under stress and responsible for a major policing operation.
Yeah, absolutely. OK, thank you very much. Former Deputy Head to the Met Commissioner, Stephen Roberts there. Let's see what my guests make of this tonight. I'm delighted. Dominique Samuels is here, and also Narinder Kaur. Two absolute classic rent-a-gobs on my panel. Ladies, it is so nice to have you here, honestly. Right, let me come to you, Dominique. I know you're both very difficult to offend as well. You're all right, aren't you? We're going to come on to Roald Dahl in a minute. I won't be allowed to say that, would I? Dominique, you've obviously been watching this case carefully. You have your own YouTube channel, your own network. It's not on YouTube, is it? Where's your channel? Is it on...
well, I do post on YouTube, also on Getter as well.
On Getter and YouTube. OK, so you are somebody that creates your own content. You are a publisher, effectively, as well as a commentator. Could you ever see yourself using, or can you relate to the motives of the people who went out there with their cameras to get this story through their own eyes?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. I think you should always remain sensitive in regards to the family because it's a very sensitive situation. But this social media sleuths trying to solve a case is absolutely nothing new. It's a whole industry on TikTok, on YouTube. There are whole channels dedicated to these sorts of stories. So sort of the idea that there needs to be new laws against it, I think, is ridiculous.
Are they not historic cases, though? You know, there are some great podcasts out there looking back at cold cases. Yeah. This was surely the first time a current active police investigation. You don't think so?
No, like there was even a case in America that my mum was really attached to, the case of a missing boy, and she was really actually engaged and really captured by that ongoing investigation. So it really is a regular thing. And when you broadcast a story like Sky and ITV have done, perhaps wrongly, all over the media. There's so much coverage. You will inevitably get people that want to solve it. And I think you raised a good point, actually, about the psychic who actually found Nicola. If, you know, it wasn't so present in the media and if people weren't so engaged, who knows, she may have not been found. And perhaps that's why such a negative reaction has sort of been conjured with these social media sleuths, because perhaps the police feel a bit embarrassed. Maybe they should.
The Narinder, of course, Paul Ansell, Nicola Bulley's partner, gave a sit-down interview to the media to keep this in the press. He's then also, as we said, criticised Sky and ITV for the handling of it. Can you see it from the point of view of those who have got YouTube channels? There's one guy I was looking at, he might normally get 200 views on his video. He's had 150,000 views on his YouTube video, walking around the site with his phone, showing you the bench, showing you the path.
Yeah, I know, but look, firstly, condolences to the family.
Absolutely.
It's terrible news. But I've actually found it sick. And it's not just your normal, when you're going on TikTok and all of them, and they're giving their opinion. It's the more bizarre the opinion, they're doing it for clicks. And I find it sick. It's actually so wrong.
Do you think
there
so?
was one I saw today, and I don't know why it came on my algorithm, and it was all that someone was dressed like her as a decoy, and the more sillier the theory and more conspiracy, the government's doing, they're trying to do this, and they're getting more clicks, and I think it's sick. This is a mum. She's been missing and she's now been found. And I think it's disgusting. And people at home, my sister's one of them, sitting at home, well, she must have did this and he did this. And did you know that
I hope she's not easily offended.
Yeah, no, she's not, no. And I was with her this morning saying, what do you mean? And she goes, well, I read she was drinking, and it influences people's minds. So what?
Well, you know what it did? It blurred the lines between reality and fiction for a lot of people,
and also
I think.
what's rude and what's polite. It was just disgusting. This is someone's daughter. Yeah. Like, everyone just needs the police to do their job. The problem was the police didn't look like they were doing their job. It looked like they were just failing and they weren't doing enough and they didn't cordon off the area. So people like to get on and have a look and get involved. But you forget this is a person.
Go on, Dominique, because, of course, some people, they will be monetising. It is a monetisable career option.
Yeah, no, I think personally, obviously, I've not commented at all on it because it's just not really my place. And I remember I was scrolling and I came across an article where someone was commenting on, you know, is she or isn't she in the river? I think she is in the river. Yeah. And it felt crass to me. So, personally, I wouldn't really engage. But I think that you sort of reap what you sow. When you sensationalise things and sort of create a character out of someone, like the media have done with Nicola, you're inevitably going to get people that are engaged. But also, you know, just factually, you know, it is quite a strange case. It is. In terms of her disappearance, in terms of even how she was found, where she was found. It's strange.
Do you really think it is that strange? I know we talked about it a little bit, because isn't it just the case the body's found up? It's not that strange. They just didn't look there, and there she is. It's not that strange.
It's
maybe.
I mean, I don't want to like speculate too much because of how raw it is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, there were extensive searches in the river. People were extremely sure that she wasn't there, and now she's found in the reeds, even though people have come out and said that they looked there and she wasn't there. So I think it is quite strange, but I suppose things will just have to develop.
Absolutely, and I think it does raise an interesting cultural shift. It is a paradigm shift, really, in terms of how these huge events will be viewed by the public and by those at home when everyone has an iPhone and can become a broadcaster. Right, thank you, ladies. Good start. Now, coming up, we're going to be taking a look at the latest addition to the long, long list of the cancelled. The Sensitivity Brigade are coming after Willy Wonka, and James and the Giant Peach. Find out why after the break. See you in 3.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you know, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions. I have no time for cultural totalitarianism. We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing. You see, amazing.
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
Welcome back. Now, the squadron of the offended in their mighty wisdom, entirely unprompted, have come to the decision that Roald Dahl's legendary books need to be rewritten, the target audience of which doesn't seem to be entirely clear. Do you know anyone who's offended by words like tiny, specifically in reference to the Oompa Loompas, or perhaps words like boys and girls? I don't know anybody that would be upset by that, but Puffin Books have made the decision so that the books can continue to be enjoyed by all today, is what they have said. This, I feel, is a bit of outrage on behalf of who? Dominic Samuels? I'm not sure.
I mean,
your puzzled face there, thinking, what is she talking about? You do know what I'm talking about, but it is puzzling, isn't it?
I mean, it's puzzling. I mean, on whose side? The people that are censoring or the people that are outraged by it?
Well, I don't think anybody is genuinely outraged by it.
By them changing it.
No, I don't think people are outraged by the idea that you could call Augustus Gloop fat.
Right, exactly. So we don't know of anyone that's actually expressed any concern about the content of the books. And personally, I think it's an extremely sinister move. I think it's a censorious move. Because when you pick apart pieces of literature, it's no longer that person's piece of work. And that's the point. And this is the problem with this woke offence-taking culture, is that it seeks to suck the joy, the creativity and the uniqueness out of everything.
Oh my goodness.
So everything has to be uniform.
No!
Everything has to be safe.
Dominique!
Everything has to not offend anyone. And at the end of the day, just let me finish, it doesn't even make sense. So let's take Augustus Gloop, for example. We're not allowed to call him a fat 9-year-old boy, but we're allowed to call him an enormous 9-year-old boy.
He's enormous.
Well, that's the conclusion, logically.
If he's enormous, it might be that he's very tall and he has very big bones.
No, right, listen, it's not about being offended. Language changes, society changes. Roald Dahl's books have always adapted with
People are more fat now than they ever were.
But we need to change those words. I don't like those books.
According to who?
His books are kind of, when you read them, they are horrible,
But
evil.
you're not the one who wrote them.
But these books are for children.
But you're not the one who wrote them.
No,
you're not the one with the
books are for
talent
children,
to write the books.
And it reinforces stereotypes. You can't call people crazy, mental, evil.
Yes, you can.
You've got to change
Yes,
that.
I can.
No,
I'll call you crazy right now.
No, we're adults. But this could be
I can,
children.
but
But in a
do you understand the
children's
point I'm making,
playground...
though?
No, I don't. Because I think you need to adapt language, and books
I don't.
always
According
have
to
been
who?
adapted. Because this is for children, not adults.
According to
As a mother, according to me.
Okay, I agree that language has to change to reflect our reality. There are words around race that people would have used casually in conversation that we would all now find unacceptable, okay? That's not acceptable. But the difference is, write a new book for, if you want to describe it as the woke generation, write a new book. Don't mess around, surely, with the original.
Well, no, because it's a classic.
Which are of their time.
Yeah, it's a classic.
They're taught at schools.
It's a classic. You didn't write it. No offence, but you don't...
Hang on, let me
finish. You didn't write it. You don't have Roald Dahl's talent. I'm not being
Let's not make it personal now.
No,
he was anti-Semitic. The man was anti-Semitic.
Yeah, but it's not.
He was a horrible man.
It's not personal. It's a fact. You didn't have the talent to write those books that are enjoyed, that have been enjoyed by millions of people for years. There's a reason why children love those books. Let me finish.
Do you know why
Let me finish.
the publishers have changed
Let me finish.
Hang on. Go on, Dominic. Just let Dominic finish.
When I was a child, guess what actually got me into reading in the first place? It's my mum bought me a whole collection of Roald Dahl books. James and the Giant Peach, The Twits, Danny the Champion of the World. These were books that opened me up to a completely new world.
And do you know what? Hang on. Were black slaves. They had to take that out.
They were orange.
With the approval of Roald Dahl's estate. And these are small... They were black slaves.
They were Oompa-Loompas.
They were black slaves. He had to change that.
They were literally orange.
This is the thing.
I know, but they were... No, they changed that.
There's no concept of creativity. No one's allowed to be creative.
Hang on. Let me give you an example.
What's wrong with you?
Ladies, let me give you an example. So in The Witches, right, The Witches, a brilliant book. The paragraph explaining that the witches are bald beneath their wigs ends with the line, there are plenty of other reasons why women might wear wigs, and there is certainly nothing wrong with that.
Who is right?
What if your mum has had chemotherapy and then the kids at school are laughing because she's a witch?
Who cares?
No, because this isn't a playground. It reinforces stereotypes.
What's wrong with...
Do you know what? I think there are many...
So let's never change. Let's never change. Small words.
Write your own book then and see if it sells as well as his.
No, because it won't be taught in school.
It won't, because there's nothing special about it.
You can't teach bad words in school.
They're not bad words.
They are.
But listen, in terms of enforcing stereotypes, there are lots and lots of ways in which stereotypes are reinforced that don't often, it's often women are at the receiving end of some poor stereotypes. But I don't think the witches wearing wigs is stereotyping somebody having chemotherapy. I think that's quite a leap.
Someone's mum could be having chemo, just got a wig on, and say, your mum's a witch. Of course it is. We can't allow this in the playground. And there's smaller changes. You're not changing... It's not a travesty. This is not a travesty.
And you mentioned the Oompa Loompas. They're gender neutral now. What does that have to do with slaves?
Because it was originally... He had to change that.
What does gender neutral have to do with slavery?
Because it's inclusivity. Let people feel that
the point
matter.
is, and the reason why this is so dangerous is because when you produce a piece of art... Now, I know people that are woke don't understand how to do this because their minds are just boggled by how every single person on the planet can be offended by something random. But when you actually produce a piece of art and when someone writes a book, how you identify that person and that artwork is the style of writing. And if you take out the style of writing, it's no longer that person's piece of work.
I worry about a kind of a vanilla world that we're living in where where you have to always be second-guessing whether someone's going to be upset by something you say. The majority of people...
I think it's kind of obvious, though.
But this is the thing.
You should be taught
But the majority of people already are, aren't they? Are mindful of other people's feelings, and we are polite, generally. I genuinely believe that generally people don't wish to go around offending people. But can you not picture a scenario, though, in which you might be reading the story to your children at night time and you kind of laugh about the fact that it's so outdated? Like, I like that.
I read the Twits to my... I loved the Twits when I was young. I also read his books. And I remember reading that to my kids. And it's ugly people or horrible people. That's not nice. I don't want my kids to think it's ugly.
Right,
it's
I know, but okay, so here we go.
That means someone's ugly is evil.
But we all read them. We all read them. And we don't think that. Do you see what I mean? Like, we've all been raised on those books, and we don't think ugly people are bad people.
It's a piece of artwork.
Horsey face. It's a horrible thing to say. And women are crazy and mental. We're talking about mental health.
We're talking about fictional reality.
No,
darling.
it's a book and children are impressionable.
No, we're talking about
Do you know what
I
else
love.
it is? It's funny. Like, the books are meant
not
to be
funny.
funny. Oh, they are funny. Come on, the
That
twist
means
is hilarious.
the books that used to have racial slurs were funny. Back in the day, they said it's funny. It means nothing.
That's a reflection of the time that they were written in.
Exactly. So now we change.
No, you don't change, because
I
then
think
when
we
you
change.
erase the past and erase the language of the past, you erase all memory of the past, and that's
look,
why it's dangerous.
As an adult, get your books, but in schools, we need to be teaching the right thing.
OK, right, well done, girls. OK, girls, is that offensive? There's a lot of naked...
Yes.
I hope we've got no naked flame near you and me tonight, Narine. There's a lot of cheap satin on this chair. Right. Keep the temperature down. We might go up in flames, you and I. Now, coming up next, an object found at Hadrian's Wall dig site has been reassessed. Steady, boys. It's the oldest wooden... Can I say that word? They put it... It's a dildo. I can say dildo. I can't say that at 10 o'clock in the morning. Dr Rob Collins, Senior Lecturer in Archaeology at Newcastle University, will be on top of that one. I didn't write this. And we've got Dr Pam Spurt, legendary sex and relationship advisor too. Don't go anywhere. It's going to get a bit weird any minute now. First and foremost, I am a GB News fan, and I was before I was working here. Just love the fact that we're asking the questions that a lot of establishment media won't ask.
With a bit of a twist, we not only want to inform you, but we want to keep you entertained.
It's worth the drive because you get in and the team's all ready and waiting, they're itching to go, and it's a proper little family.
GB News is the People's Channel.
It's the audience that makes the programme sing.
We're giving our viewers and our listeners a voice. I see the thousands of your letters, tweets, emails, you name it, coming in.
Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it?
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent you.
It's time for something different. It's time for GB News. I'm very patriotic. I believe in Britain. Our best days lie ahead.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Join us here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hi, Andrew Pierce here. Join me every Friday lunchtime for a proper no-nonsense debrief of the week's events. With special guests in the studio and the GB News team on the ground, I'll be getting you up to date with news, some intelligent discussion, and my own sharp take. The weekend starts here with me every Friday lunchtime on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Laurence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless, and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back. Now, some stories come along that just make your eyes water. This is one of those. Imagine being an archaeologist at Hadrian's Wall, digging the earth with your trowel, hoping to happen upon a few coins or arrowheads, and all of a sudden, out pops a giant ancient sex toy. the oldest wooden one ever found, in fact. And Dr. Rob Collins, senior lecturer in archaeology at Newcastle University, and Dr. Pam Spur, sex and relationship expert, are here to tell me all about it. Rob, good evening. I believe you are the gentleman who came across this item, am I right?
Well, it was found 30 years ago, but my
so not
colleague,
you then?
It wasn't me, but my colleague was working on the archives in Vindolanda and came across this object. And he's an expert in ancient wood, and I am the expert in Roman dicks, apparently. So we combined forces to study this object.
OK, so what was it originally catalogued as, Rob? What did the prudes in 1990, when was it, 1996? What did the prudes think it was? What did they put it down as in their archive?
Well, they put it down as a darning tool, which is a sort of tool that you'd use for sewing, you know,
We've
for
all
making
been
socks
there.
or mittens. But the other thing is they found it, you know, it's the sort of thing when you're an archaeologist, you pull something out of the ground, it's a bit mucky and dirty. You don't always know what it is, so you kind of write what you think it might be on the sheet of paper beside you. And, you know, I don't think anyone really gave it a close look from when it was originally discovered.
Oh, come on, Rob. Come on. They definitely took one look at it. I'm hoping we've got a picture of it to show our audience, because you take one look at this and you can be left under no illusion. We can't quite see the other end of it, which is perhaps, oh yeah, we possibly can, the giveaway bit. So they looked at this and they said, oh, this is a darning tool. Some awkward archaeologist wrote it down. And then more recently, you guys have had a look at it and gone, oh, come on, we know what that is. Because the Romans were no strangers to phallic symbols, were they?
No, they were all over the place in Roman times, you know, in paintings, on vases, you know, carvings, statues, little pendants that you would wear for good luck. You know, they're pretty common throughout the Roman Empire.
OK, so just tell us exactly where was it found? How big is it?
Well, it's about 6.5 inches long.
I'm not grown up enough to do this item. Sorry, carry on, I'll pull myself together.
It's been a trial today, I confess. But it's about 6.5 inches long, so it's within life-size parameters, I think we can say. And you know, it's where it was found is in a ditch outside of a Roman fort, apparently is rubbish. So we didn't have any clue from where it was found. It's not like we found it in some soldier or some woman's bedroom or in a kitchen or anything like that. It was just in the rubbish. So we've had to kind of interpret what we can from the object itself.
And are there many of these? Like, have you ever found? Have you in your own experience? You know, they sort of seem fairly plentiful, and there are actually pictures in Hadrian's Wall, aren't there, of penises like drawn into the wall like that?
Yes. Yeah. So
you're listening on the radio. You'll have to watch that back on the app.
Yeah. So there are carvings of phalluses all around, but. And we know from Roman art, we know from Roman literature that they use dildos. So it's not a shock that they use them. You know, if you're into Roman, you know, history and past, you know they're about. But we've never found an archaeological example. And what's tricky, we can't say for certain that this is a dildo. It's one of a range of different things it could be. But the fact that we can say it might even be a dildo is actually really kind of exciting.
You and me both. Right, I'm going to move on now. Thank you so much, Rob, for joining me. Rob Collins there. Dr. Pam Spur is here. Pam, I'm exposing myself for being a giggling idiot here because we're talking about Roman sexual toys. But the Romans were no stranger. They were very comfortable with their sexuality in a way that idiotic modern women like me get all a bit nervous about.
You're absolutely right. The Romans were very comfortable with sexuality, and they celebrate it in so many ways. And I wanted to say throughout human development, there has been an insatiable curiosity and celebration of sex and pleasure. Now, we can do better than that Roman wooden phallus. If you go into German cave paintings and into German phalluses, 28,000-year-old stone phallus was found in a German cave, along with erotic cave paintings. And they know it was a phallus because the cave pictures depicted the use of how a phallus would be held. So that's 28,000 years ago. And then move along to the Chinese. They used to make beautiful jade dildos and other dildos out of very fine materials. So it was very much for the wealthy classes enjoyed such pleasure. And it was the same in sort of ancient India, where they made wonderful dildos out of ivory that was said to be silky smooth. And of course, the Indians, they wrote the Kama Sutra. That was like 1800 years ago. And when you think of the definition of Kama Sutra, it meant sex, pleasure, thread, like a thread we talk about nowadays on Twitter. So they had a thread about sexual pleasure, which we think of as a book. But no, there's so many examples. The Victorians, let's move forward to Victorian Britain. This is exciting. The Victorians had not only rubber dildos, but they made electrical machinery that was to help women who had supposedly hysteria, as they used to call it, to have orgasms and cure their hysteria. And then the Edwardians made even fancier electrical implements. Some of them are quite scary looking, Beverly.
Well, I got called hysterical by my first guest this evening. Maybe this is a solution to all my problems, Dr. Pam. Just tell me, can you imagine why in 1992, when the original archaeologists found this artefact, why they put it down as a darning tool, kind of awkwardly, I guess, and shoved it in a drawer?
And talk about awkward darning with something that size. I mean, I can't imagine it. But maybe that person was naive. Maybe they were shy. Who knows why they might have recorded it in that way. But certainly we, most of us who are interested in these things, will speak openly and honestly. The other thing I wanted to mention was, of course, the Greeks. The Greeks, compared to the Romans, because there was always this vying for power between the Greeks and the Romans. The Greeks preferred wooden phalluses with leather strips, kind of like ridging. And the modern day, dildos and vibrators have things like ridging on some of them for extra pleasure. And the Greeks recommended using olive oil to lubricate them. So they were one up on the modern day lubricants, a natural lubricant.
Oh, Dr. Pam Spur, what a way to kick off my first night doing the 8 o'clock show. I really hope my kids are in bed, otherwise my partner's just had some really awkward conversations that I was not there to witness. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Oh, Dan Wotton, follow that. What have you got on tonight?
Oh, my God, Bev, what are you doing to me? Can you stop using the D word?
Some people will pay good money for that kind of chat.
The V word at this time of night? No, that was interesting. Thank you very much. Big show ahead. We've got Laurence Fox, Neil Oliver, Calvin McKenzie on the way. Plus, really digging into what the Lancashire Police got right and wrong in the Nicola Bulley investigation. OK, thank you so much, Dan. Right, that sounds like a brilliant show. That explains where Laurence Fox is. How come I'm here if he's on with you? Anyway, I can't wait. I'm going to be here for the rest of the week. Thank you for joining me. I'll be on the TV tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for Bev Turner Today. But next, here's your weather.
Hello, my name's Rachel Ayres and welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office. Well, tomorrow is going to be a dry day for many with a few sunny spells around and remaining still quite mild. Now, most of this settled weather is due to this high pressure that's still around across most of England and Wales. Though looking further north, we have got some weather fronts that try to push in through Monday and into the start of Tuesday, just bringing us some outbreaks of rain and drizzle to end the day. There will be some outbreaks of light rain and drizzle, mostly over western upslopes as well through this evening. Otherwise, it's going to be a dry night, quite cloudy though, so temperatures are going to be remaining pretty mild once again, with little to no frost around for the start of Tuesday. There's going to be another cloudy start to the day tomorrow, little in the way of brightness to start the day, with outbreaks of rain continuing across the far north of Scotland, and these could be heavy at times. With a freshening breeze as well, it's going to be feeling pretty cool here in the wind. Though with the cloudy skies elsewhere and limited brightness, it will be quite a mild day elsewhere, with temperatures generally sticking around in the double figures. But looking to Tuesday evening and into the start of Wednesday, and it's all changed with this band of rain making its way south and eastwards. And this marks a change to some slightly cooler conditions. So that rain will make its way southeastwards through Tuesday night and into the start of Wednesday. So remaining generally dry to start, but cloudy ahead of this, with some rain building in towards the early hours of Wednesday. Behind this, though, blustery showers and clear spells moving in, which means we could just see a patchy grass frost to start Wednesday here. That rain will continue to make its way south and eastwards throughout the start of Wednesday, bringing some outbreaks of rain. These will mostly be light, but we could just see the odd moderate one in there as well. Behind this, though, brightening skies, freshening breeze, though, with some showers too that could be wintry over high ground. Continued through the rest of the week, though, that we'll see some bright spells and some outbreaks of rain, but temperatures getting cooler.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the people's channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world. The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch.
You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me! And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB Plus Radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
He's the king of breakfast TV, and he's back.
Eamon Holmes back on the TV with me this morning.
Even remember my name.
I know, it's been 4 months. You have holy water by your bed?
Oh yes, already to bless.
Yeah. Oh, Eamon. Oh.
Why do you not believe anything I say?
Eamon Holmes back on GB News Breakfast at 6 a.m.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store? You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton, and breaking tonight, Lancashire Police have confirmed the body found in the River Wye yesterday is that of missing 45-year-old Nicola Bully. Her heartbroken family have paid tribute tonight to the special mother of two.
She was the centre of our world. She was the one who made our lives so special, and nothing will cast a shadow over that.
We'll have reaction to this devastating development throughout the show. At 10:20, I'll be joined by diving expert Peter Faldy as he hits back at being made the scapegoat for what he believes are the police's failings. He's live alongside former Met Police Senior Detective Simon Hardine, who I'll ask, how could Nicola be found just 1 mile from where she went missing? And at 9:20, veteran coppers Norman Brennan and Di Davies go head-to-head in the clash as they dissect and debate the Lancashire Force's widely criticised handling of this tragic case that seems the country really question the competence of the police as they reveal deeply personal details about the mother's alcohol use and health against her family's wishes.
Also coming up tonight, it's Boris versus Rishi round 3 as ex-Chancellor and Tory wet George Osborne reveals Bojo is out for revenge against the double PM slayer.
Boris Johnson is interested in becoming Prime Minister again.